Hey, what's going on, you guys? It's Aces High here. Today we're going to continue our Roman series. And last time we looked at what Octavian and what he did after he split from Antony. Today, I believe, and especially based off the title, it's titled Antony's Invasion of Parthia. That we're going to look at what Antony did during that same time. So it's kind of cool. We're splitting off into two different videos to cover the same like section of time from two different stories. So if you guys haven't watched the Octavian one, go watch it. I posted it, 2 days ago. And this one's going to be all about Antony. If you guys are new to the channel, hit that sub button, hit that like button, leave me a comment, or come join my Discord. There is a link in the description to tell me what you want to see. I've actually been watching a little bit of European football, lately, true football, uh, not American football. You know what Americans call soccer, anyway, and it's been a lot of fun, so I think I might post a few videos about that. But let me know what you guys want to watch, all right? Anyway, I'm going to sit back, I'm going to shut up, go grab yourself a drink, and let's get going, okay?
In the last video, we followed Caesar's adopted son and political heir Octavian as he returned to Rome, fresh from his victory at Philippi.
Right.
The city he came back to was one unfamiliar to him, in the midst of a catastrophic economic depression and a famine. Casual, brutal violence gripped the entire region. Over the next 6 years, Octavian made a series of misguided decisions that deepened and prolonged the crisis, resulting in perhaps hundreds of thousands of additional deaths. But finally, with a run of good luck, he was able to defeat the rebel boat king Sextus Pompeius and seize control of Sicily, which slowly began to ease the famine. The conflict brought Octavian to the very edge of ruin. But peace brought with it popularity, and he emerged from the crisis as the unrivaled leader of a unified Roman West.
Okay.
Antony's situation over this same period was entirely different, as if it were taking place in a parallel universe. The Roman East relied heavily upon the cooperation of local warlords and aristocrats. But over the last decade, Roman negligence had allowed petty disputes between these groups to fester and to grow. Trust was low, and by the time Antony got there, the entire region felt like it was on the verge of being ripped apart by factionalism.
Oh, wow. That's a rough start.
After Philippi, Antony took a leisurely tour through the Roman East, aiming to settle these disputes and meet with as many local leaders as possible. In time, a message went out to Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt, inviting her to come and meet with Antony in the city of Tarsus. Egypt was still an independent kingdom, although that independence seemed to be hanging on a knife's edge. Up until very recently, the country had been compelled to play host to several Roman legions, and there was a concern within Egypt that with the end of the civil war, the Romans might just decide to bring the legions back, maybe permanently. Egypt, under Cleopatra, had to navigate an impossible path. She had to assert Egypt's independence from a position of relative weakness, but she couldn't do so in a way that provoked a Roman intervention. Cleopatra was well prepared for this moment. She had already placed informants inside Antony's inner circle, who explained to her that Antony was extremely vain, easily influenced by flattery, and not a skilled negotiator.
She was also incredibly intelligent. I mean, she was definitely known for that.
This was enough for Cleopatra
Very
to
cunning.
formulate a strategy. She set sail for Tarsus. When Cleopatra's royal barge appeared on the horizon, the residents of Tarsus could not believe their eyes. The ship had been plated with gold and was being propelled through the water by a set of silver oars. The sails had been dyed purple, which we might not find very impressive, but purple dye was so rare in the ancient world that it was literally worth its weight in gold. Children, dressed as Eros, or Cupid, the god of desire, crowded the deck of the ship, surrounded by a flock of musicians playing flutes.
What an entrance. Wow.
At the center of it all sat Cleopatra, reclined under a golden canopy, dressed as Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love. To the residents of the city of Tarsus, it appeared as if the gods themselves had personally come to seek an audience with Antony. It was a flattering image, and exactly the kind to which Antony was susceptible.
Okay.
Antony and Cleopatra spent the next 4 days locked in aggressive negotiations. The only thing that Antony really cared about was Parthia. Caesar had been on the Parthian warpath at the time of his death, and as far as Antony was concerned, this was unfinished business. Also, it must be said that Antony wanted a war. Caesar had shown that successful conquest can be a platform from which one can seize power. Octavian had his war with Sextus in the west, but that was nothing compared to Parthia. A victory here would outshine Octavian 100-fold.
True.
There was
that's a
no
lot of
bigger
land.
prize. Even though Egypt was an independent kingdom, Cleopatra agreed to help supply a future Roman campaign into Parthia. This was exactly what Antony wanted. But Cleopatra had some concerns of her own. Rome was holding several Egyptian political prisoners, including Cleopatra's sister Arsinoe. Her sister had briefly sat on the Egyptian throne, which made her a potential rival, a potential replacement.
She wants her killed.
Rome was holding her for a reason. Cleopatra wanted her dead. Antony agreed. Cleopatra then invited Antony to come and spend the winter in Alexandria. It was around this time that the two began a romantic relationship.
Damn, she's hooking up with everybody. Caesar, Antony.
It's hard to know Cleopatra's precise motivations, because we can't be inside her head. But it seems, based on her actions, that flattering and perhaps even seducing Antony was all part of the plan. Military preparations for a Roman invasion of Parthia continued all winter, and Antony made no attempt to conceal his plans. And so maybe it shouldn't have come as a surprise when the Parthians launched a preemptive attack and invaded Syria in the spring of 40 BCE.
Wow.
Antony immediately abandoned his little Egyptian vacation and went to Greece to raise additional legions. When he arrived, he learned that the man that he had appointed governor in Syria had been captured and executed by the Parthians. In Greece, Antony began receiving regular updates from the Roman West once more. The rebellion ignited by his brother Lucius and his wife Fulvia had just ended in failure, which means that at their greatest moment of peril, Antony had been hanging out with his girlfriend in a different country with his phone turned off. Was this on purpose? Did he strategically make himself unreachable at this time?
I don't know.
Antony and Fulvia reunited in Greece, but within a few months, Fulvia fell ill and died.
Oh, wow.
We're told that she died of natural causes, but we're also told that she, quote, aggravated her illness deliberately, to which I say, what? Here's another data point. The moment that Fulvia fell ill, Antony had just learned that Cleopatra gave birth to twins. We know that the couple thought that this was an historic occasion because they would later name the children Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene, the sun and the moon. It was at this pivotal moment that Fulvia mysteriously fell ill and died. I'm not saying there was foul play. I'm just saying that Antony definitely murdered his wife.
Maybe. What do you guys think?
Meanwhile, Antony received a letter from his mother in Rome. She claimed that Sextus Pompeius had contacted her and wanted to form an alliance with Antony against Octavian. Antony replied non-committally. Sextus must have found this answer a little confusing because Antony's wife and brother had just attempted to stage a coup. This decision to keep Sextus at arm's length started looking like a mistake almost immediately, because when one of Antony's generals in Gaul unexpectedly died, Octavian used the opportunity to move against him and seize control of 11 of his Gallic legions. Antony dropped his preparations for the Parthian campaign at once, and departed for Italy with whatever strength he could muster. After a brief standoff, the two agreed to re-split the Roman world. The Treaty of Brundisium gave Antony the east, Octavian the west, and Lepidus the province of Africa.
Right.
The idea behind this new arrangement was to prevent future incidents like this by giving everybody clearly defined areas of influence. Antony was fine making these concessions. His entire focus was on the upcoming Parthian campaign. The treaty was finalized with a marriage between Antony and Octavian's sister. It's a really weird coincidence that this marriage was only made possible by the untimely death of Antony's wife. Again, I'm not saying that Antony murdered his wife, but he did do that, and I am saying that, and he should be in jail.
Alright, fair enough. Maybe he did.
Antony stuck around for a while and helped Octavian negotiate a new deal with Sextus. When that wrapped up, Antony returned to Greece. In the meantime, the Parthians, facing minimal opposition, had penetrated deep into Roman territory. After taking the province of Syria, they split their invasion force and launched simultaneous attacks against Asia Minor to the north and Judea to the south, which was a semi-independent puppet kingdom under Roman influence. The southern offensive into Judea was personally led by the son of the Parthian king. The northern offensive into Asia Minor was led by none other than the son of Caesar's old right-hand man Labienus. Antony's reorganization of the Roman East left him deeply unpopular with some aristocrats, and so each Parthian army was able to pick up local support as they advanced. While Antony was struggling to mobilize a large-scale response, he placed a small advance force of maybe 2 legions under the command of a general named Ventidius, and sent him east to slow the son of Labienus down. With very little resources and an impossible task ahead of him, Ventidius exceeded everybody's expectations. He occupied a narrow mountain pass called the Cilician Gates and provoked a Parthian attack. The superior Roman infantry held their ground and then attacked downhill, turning the Parthian army and securing a minor victory. But even more importantly, the son of Labienus was captured during the confusion. Ventidius ordered him put to death. In one move, the northern Parthian advance had been stopped in its tracks. In the aftermath, each side scrambled for control of another key choke point, called the Amminus Pass, but when Ventidius threw all of his strength into it, he won that battle as well.
Nice.
Ventidius's job had been to slow the Parthian advance, while Antony built his strength. But that wasn't what was happening. Ventidius was accidentally winning the entire campaign. In 2 moves, the Parthians had been pushed all the way back to Syria. Off to the south, the son of the Parthian king heard about the collapse of the northern campaign and pulled out of Judea. By the time Ventidius reached Syria, he had received some reinforcements from Antony. How many reinforcements? Hard to say. When did this happen? Also hard to say. The sources surrounding this incident are bad.
To be fair, it's 2,000 years
ago. The 2
ago.
Parthian armies combined their forces and advanced once more. The Romans awaited them at a site called Mount Gindaris. In each of the 2 previous battles, as soon as the Parthians were forced to confront the Roman infantry directly, they fled. Ventidius suspected that this might happen a 3rd time, and so he tricked the Parthians into believing that his little army had been badly weakened, when in fact they had only been strengthened by reinforcements. As predicted, the Parthians pulled back when they encountered the Roman infantry, but this time they ran straight into an ambush. The Parthian invaders were obliterated, and the son of the Parthian king was killed.
Oh wow.
The Senate and people of Rome would later reward Ventidius with a triumph. Well deserved, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
Antony moved quickly to re-establish control over the Roman East. He brought Judea back under Roman influence by elevating a pro-Roman ruler named Herod and helping him purge Parthian sympathizers from the kingdom. Around this time, Antony traveled back west and offered to give Octavian some ships in exchange for some legions. We now fully understand why. Antony had just seen the Roman East overrun by the Parthians, and, as I covered in the last video, Octavian had his own problems with the Boat King. Unfortunately for Antony,
He never
Octavian
got
never
it.
got around to sending his legions east.
Yeah.
Or let's just say that when he did get around to sending his legions east, it was not in the way that Antony expected.
Oh. Some
Antony's
foreshadowing.
long-awaited invasion of Parthia finally came in 36 BCE. Antony had spent years thinking about how to approach this campaign. The last Roman general to attempt an invasion had been soundly defeated by the Parthian cavalry at the Battle of Carrhae.
Yeah, that was
This
rough.
defeat taught Antony a valuable lesson. Instead of pushing east, Antony would march north and cut through Rome's ally of Armenia. Antony's basic theory was that the open plains of Mesopotamia made the Parthian cavalry virtually unstoppable. The hills and mountains of Armenia, on the other hand, would be much more conducive to the Roman infantry and their style of fighting.
That's
If the
smart.
Parthians were foolish enough to throw their cavalry against the mountains of Armenia, let them. If not, Antony could march east and then south, and then he would have a Roman army on the Persian plateau, threatening the heart of the Parthian Empire.
Okay.
I've got to say, I don't hate this strategy. Say what you will about Antony, and I have, and
Did he
I
get
will,
permission?
but he did the work of studying previous Roman defeats and actually learned something.
True, I agree with that, but did he get permission to go through Armenia? That's the big question. Did he, I mean, he can't just cut through another country, right? Even if they are an ally. You got to at least give them a heads up. It's a respect thing. Otherwise you might end up getting screwed.
If Antony was going to march all the way into the heart of the Parthian Empire, he would need Egypt's full support. Cleopatra had already promised to supply the upcoming campaign, but Antony needed to be sure. He couldn't have the most powerful kingdom in the region doing anything unexpected while he was thousands of kilometers away. Antony and Cleopatra got together and discussed the future of Egypt. Rome would support Egypt acquiring a bunch of new territory up the Mediterranean coast. From Antony's perspective, this would guarantee Egyptian cooperation if the Parthians ever
Rome would continue to administer some of this territory in Egypt's name. It was more like a Rome-Egypt partnership. Okay, very cool.
invaded again. From Cleopatra's perspective, this elevated Egypt to its most powerful position in 2 centuries. Everybody was happy. Speaking of being happy, it was around this time that Cleopatra became pregnant once more.
Wow.
With somewhere between 15 and 18 legions under his command, Antony launched his invasion of Parthia. As planned, he marched north and cut through the friendly kingdom of Armenia. The first phase of this campaign appears to have been successful because the Parthians in the Mesopotamian lowlands were caught completely flat-footed. As Antony advanced through the mountains of Armenia, he knew that time was of the essence. For the sake of speed, he allowed the baggage train to lag behind, while the main army
no,
marched
that's
ahead.
not good.
Eventually, they emerged into Parthian territory, where he immediately laid siege to the city of Frata? 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 Just a side note, this was technically the capital city of a separate kingdom called... oh boy. We're just gonna throw it away with confidence. Media Atropatene, which was closely aligned with Parthia. This is not an important distinction, since every map I've seen just goes ahead and counts this as part of the Parthian Empire, but I only mention it because Antony's objective here may have been to split Media Atropatene away from Parthia and into the Roman sphere of influence.
Okay.
As Antony was settling into the siege of Frata, Roman supplies were still slowly snaking their way through the mountains of Armenia. With no warning, the Parthians attacked. But they didn't attack Antony. They attacked the baggage train.
See, that's
A
smart.
small military force under the command of the Armenian king was quickly defeated, and the majority of Roman supplies were taken or destroyed. And by Roman supplies, I mean Cleopatra's supplies, since Antony had asked her to back this entire campaign. Oopsie doopsie. All
I don't know why
accounts of
he'd
this
let it lag.
event come to us through pro-Antony sources, so it shouldn't be too surprising that they blame everybody except Antony. There's an accusation made that the Armenian king stabbed Antony in the back and tipped off the Parthians. There's also some talk that there may have been a Parthian spy in Antony's inner circle. Maybe this is true, but the likeliest scenario is that Antony simply miscalculated,
I
and the
agree.
Parthians pounced. Despite this early setback, Antony pressed on. If they could win the siege of Frata, or Freta, all of their supply problems would be solved. That's a polite way of saying that they would loot the city. But the city was better defended than Antony had anticipated, and when the Parthians descended on Frata and began conducting hit-and-run attacks, it only made matters worse. The Romans had a hard time building and defending siege equipment. Antony kept up the fight for as long as he could, but he was up against the clock. At the last possible moment, he made the heartbreaking decision to abandon the siege. He turned around and began the long march back to Armenia.
Oh, wow. That's rough, too. I really like
The idea had
Antony
always
as a
been to
military
spend
leader.
the winter in Parthian territory. Nobody had planned for an early retreat. The Parthian cavalry harassed the Romans all the way back to Armenia, impeding their progress and exhausting their soldiers. By the time they reached the mountains of Armenia, the weather had begun to turn. Snowstorms slowed their process even further, and food rations were cut to a bare minimum. Antony tried to keep pushing forward, but nobody had packed any winter clothing.
This kind of reminds me of when I was watching the Napoleon series and the retreat from Russia, you know?
Soldiers were forced to trudge through the snow in their Mediterranean-style sandals, with their bare legs exposed. Through all of this, persistent Parthian cavalry raids forced the Romans to stop several times a day. By the time Antony limped all the way back to Syria, he had lost between 25 and 50% of his army to starvation or the cold. The survivors no longer resembled soldiers. They were disturbingly thin and dressed in rags, many having left their armor behind in the snow. As soon as Antony was able, he sent a letter to Cleopatra requesting money, food, and winter clothing. The survivors of the Parthian campaign then huddled next to the coast, fearful that a Parthian counterattack was imminent. Antony also wrote to Octavian and the Roman Senate, characterizing the Parthian campaign as a victory. I'll let you decide whether starving to death on the side of a mountain counts as a victory.
He did take some land, right? He took, what, a little bit south of Syria, I guess? That little section, but I mean, I guess actually it's kind of just an even. He took back for the most part what they already had.
Asking for those legions that Octavian had promised him a year ago. Octavian gave him every excuse in the book. The legions weren't ready, problems with recruitment, blah blah blah. It was around this time that Antony took to heavy drinking.
Okay.
Despite having falsely claimed victory, Antony spent the next year going around and propagating this story about how the Armenians stabbed Rome in the back. In 34 BCE, he used this as pretext for an invasion. Armenia didn't stand a chance, and in no time at all, the Armenian king was captured and the war was over.
Wow.
This recrimination against Armenia stinks of injured pride and a bruised ego. It also proves that Antony was not a particularly deep political thinker. The king of Armenia had always favored an alliance with Rome, but his son was of a different mind and favored an alliance with Parthia. Well, within a couple of years, that's exactly what happened. This drift toward Parthia left Rome in an objectively worse geopolitical situation. But hey, at least Antony felt better.
Wow.
Back in Alexandria, Antony celebrated a triumph and humiliated the Armenian king by using him as a centerpiece in the celebration. Unsurprisingly, the earlier defeat at the hands of the Parthians was not mentioned. Sometime after the triumph, Antony orchestrated a bizarre event known to history as the Donations of Alexandria. It took place in the Gymnasium of Alexandria, which was a structure more than 200 meters in length, described by Strabo as the most beautiful building in the city. Before a packed crowd, Antony and Cleopatra sat upon thrones, dressed as gods. Antony addressed the crowd and opened with a shocking revelation. Years earlier, Caesar and Cleopatra had secretly been married, which meant that Cleopatra's child Caesarion, now around 13 years old, was in fact Caesar's legitimate heir. The problem with this claim was that it was not true. No other source says anything about a secret marriage, and even if it did, Caesar was already married. It would have been illegal. But Antony made the claim anyways. Why? Because elevating Caesarion served a strategic purpose. Who would this hurt? Octavian, of course. We'll get around to Octavian's response later, but for now, Antony had more to say. He reaffirmed his support for Cleopatra and Caesarion as the legitimate rulers of Egypt, and then went one step further and bestowed new titles upon each of them. Queen of Kings for Cleopatra and King of Kings for Caesarion. These titles had a special significance in the region. It put them up on the same level as the King of Parthia. Cleopatra was to oversee a vast expansion of Egyptian territory and preside over a group of lesser kings that would administer their territory in her name. Some of these lesser kings were to be her own children. Antony then turned to his son, Alexander Helios, now 5 or 6 years old. To Alexander, he conferred the following titles: the King of Armenia, the King of Media, and the King of Parthia. Like I said, these titles were to be subordinate to Egypt and to Egypt's queen. If you were paying attention, you might have noticed that none of these titles were Antony's to give. Most of this territory was outside of Roman influence, and even recently defeated Armenia had already gone ahead and selected a new king. You might say that these titles were aspirational. To Cleopatra Selene, Alexander Helios' twin sister, Antony granted a much more modest but realistic set of titles: Queen of Cyrenaica and Queen of Crete. Again, these would be subordinate to Cleopatra. While Cyrenaica and Crete weren't exactly the greatest prizes, they did have the benefit of being territory that was actually under Egypt's control. Antony and Cleopatra's 2-year-old son, whom they had named Ptolemy Philadelphus, received titles as well. Again, these would all be subordinate to the ruler of Egypt. Ptolemy Philadelphus would become the king of Syria, the king of Phoenicia, and the king of Cilicia. Don't get too thrown off by the title King of Syria. It seems that Antony's idea was for the king of Syria to provide a much-needed buffer between the Roman province of Syria and the rest of the world. People sometimes mischaracterize the donations of Alexandria as Antony giving away Roman territory, but that's not what happened here. Antony's goal was to fundamentally reorganize the Roman East into a stable system of alliances that would hold up over generations. The Roman East was a relatively new concept. The first Roman tiptoes into Asia Minor began only 100 years ago, and the Roman presence in places like Syria was only 30 years old. Regional stability relied on support from allies like Thrace, Lycia, Galatia, Armenia, and Judea. But recent history had taught Antony that this system sucked. These allies had no love for Rome, and at first opportunity they switched sides like it was nothing. The constant threat of a Parthian invasion meant that Rome couldn't really do anything about this. They just had to accept weak allied support when they could get it. Antony's idea was to develop an interconnected system of alliances, using Egypt as a central hub. Distant territories like Armenia, Cyrenaica, and Cilicia would be linked together through their relationship with Egypt. The system would be self-policing. Opportunistically switching sides would mean incurring the wrath of this expanded Egyptian empire. In order for this system to work, all Rome had to do was maintain a strong partnership with Egypt. So far, so good with Cleopatra. Who was next in line after her? The son of Julius Caesar, a Roman on the Egyptian throne.
Okay. No, that's actually incredibly smart. I like it.
You can agree or disagree with Antony's strategic vision, but I wanted to make it clear that the idea was logically sound. I would argue that it was putting a lot of eggs into one Egypt-shaped basket, but that was Antony's decision. He wasn't losing his mind, and he wasn't turning his back on the people of Rome. It was a real strategy designed to provide regional stability far into the future.
I'm sure
But that
Octavian didn't
wasn't
see it
how
that way.
things were characterized in the West.
Mm.
When Antony submitted his plan to the Roman Senate for their approval, Octavian threw a fit. His entire political identity was wrapped up in being Caesar's only son and heir, and now Antony was claiming that Caesar had another son on the Egyptian throne. It was a direct challenge to Octavian. At this time, Octavian had just recently defeated Sextus Pompeius and recaptured Sicily. He was
Now he's coming
popular
for
for the
Antony.
first time in his political career. He decided to use that against Antony. At Octavian's direction, the Roman Senate denied Antony's reorganization of the Roman East. This was a massive breach in their agreement. Antony was supposed to have a free hand to do as he wished in the territory under his control. Now, that was being taken away from him.
Wow.
Octavian then went to the people of Rome. He pretended to be outraged over the fact that Antony staged a Roman triumph on foreign soil. He used the incident as proof that Antony had betrayed Rome and thrown in his lot with the Egyptians. He twisted the donations of Alexandria to fit this narrative, and told the people of Rome that Antony was setting up a dynasty for himself at Rome's expense. But of course, that wasn't what Antony was doing. He was trying to make the Roman East more resilient. But the truth didn't matter. Maybe Octavian had always planned on turning against Antony, or maybe the Caesarian thing spooked him into rethinking their relationship. But either way, his goal was now to pick a fight. When the agreement between Antony and Octavian came up for renewal in 33 BCE, both sides just let it expire. The second triumvirate was dead. Bad politics had allowed the combined military strength of the entire Roman Empire to fall into the hands of two people. It was only a matter of time before one began to see the other as a direct threat to their power. And once that happened, a civil war became inevitable.
Right. You know, I mean, what do you guys think of that? It's yeah, I don't know. I mean, everything that I see, maybe it's just the Historia Civilis is biased. I know everybody's a little bit biased in one way or another, but God, everything that I learned about Octavian in this series just seems like, God damn, screw him. You know, I mean, they made peace with Sextus, and he just tries to throw his soldiers at him again and almost screws it all up. And I mean, he just wants more and more, and he just wants ultimate control. It feels like, you know. I don't know. Anyway, hope you guys dug it. Till next time, this is Ace High. I love y'all, and I'm out.